Imagine the following scenario. You're pushing hard in the gym, driving your lifts up each week, adding sets and reps and weight to the bar, and then your progress stalls. Your energy starts to tank, your recovery goes down, you may even start losing some muscle despite all of the work that you're putting in. The problem may not be your training program, it might be your diet. What's up everybody, it's your coach Jaron here with Forge, and today we're going to be talking about aligning your nutrition with your training goals. So why does alignment matter? Over my years as a coach, one of the biggest pitfalls that I've seen people fall into is either chasing too many rabbits, meaning they want to deadlift 800 pounds while having 20-inch arms and visible abs all at the same time and thinking that they can accomplish all of these goals simultaneously, or simply the inability to focus on one specific aspect of their goals at a time. Practically, this can look like training for strength and expecting to see increases in your squat, bench, or deadlift while also wanting to improve their marathon times, or wanting to push maximal strength and train for muscle size, but they also want to get lean at the same time. And so we're driving training in one particular direction, but our nutrition is heading in another. I'm not innocent of this myself. I've tried it many times, and I've seen just about every person I've ever met attempt these same things, and it simply does not work. If you're training to build muscle, then your volume of training needs to be high enough to stimulate muscle growth. You also need to be eating in a calorie surplus, because if you do not provide the fuel in order to build new muscle tissue, you will not gain anything despite how much work you're doing. If your goal is to build maximal strength, then you need to at least be eating at maintenance, if not a calorie surplus, as the training will require those additional nutrients in order for you to recover and actually grow stronger without burning yourself out. If your goal is to train for fat loss, then we need to be cautious of not having too much training on a calorie deficit so that we can't recover. This is going to increase cortisol and can actually lead to muscle loss long term if you don't pair these things well. If you're brand new to training, then you can get stronger while in a calorie deficit, but this is primarily because those adaptations are neurological as you build your skill and efficiency in the lift. This can also work for a short time if you're someone who's overweight, as your body is a calorie surplus, and you're able to tap into that energy that's stored in the form of body fat while pushing weights up on the bar. But if you're stronger and more experienced in training, then these two aspects must be in proper alignment. At best, your progress is going to stall. At worst, you risk hormonal burnout, adrenal fatigue, loss of muscle mass, poor sleep, and just generally feeling like crap all the time. So how do we avoid these pitfalls to get the most out of our training? Well, the Bible gives us some wisdom in Ecclesiastes by talking about the idea of seasons. There's an appointed time for everything, and there is a time for every event under heaven, a time to give birth and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to uproot what is planted, a time to kill and a time to heal, a time to tear down and a time to build up, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance, a time to throw stones and a time to gather stones, a time to embrace and a time to shun embracing, a time to search and a time to give up as lost, a time to keep and a time to throw away, a time to tear apart and a time to sew together, a time to be silent and a time to speak, a time to love and a time to hate, a time for war and a time for peace. With regard to training, this means we need to develop the ability to focus. We also need to have the discipline to stay focused on that goal and not get distracted by side goals. We need to be headed so firmly in the direction that we've chosen that nothing that comes up along the way can derail us from that goal, including ourselves. We're also going to need to accept that when we're pursuing one goal wholeheartedly, that we have to make allowances to the others. That means if our goal is to build muscle and size, then we need to be doing all of our actions in the alignment of that goal. That means if we're gaining weight, you're probably not going to stay as lean. If our goal is to get lean, then you're not going to stay as big, because these two things are opposing. But this is the power of seasons. Like it said in Ecclesiastes, there's a season for everything. And so this doesn't mean that we can't accomplish all of our goals. We just have to choose times to prioritize one over the other. If our goal is to build muscle, then for this season, we're singularly focused on that goal. Once we're successful and we achieve that goal, we can then shift our focus to another goal. Maybe now you want to focus on losing body fat, and for this next season, we head all of our efforts in that direction. Over time, you can make incremental progress in all of these different directions, but this can only be done by choosing a singular focus for a period of time and then shifting our focus after we've been successful with that goal. By trying to chase too many opposing goals at the same time, we create a pattern of failure because we've never fully applied ourselves towards the accomplishment of any one of the goals. We also create a pattern of frustration because since we've never been completely successful at anything because we're trying to pursue too many things at once, we start to feel defeated. And this ultimately robs the joy out of the process of working hard and accomplishing something based on applying your best effort. So here's the challenge. Set a goal. Have a clear vision of the direction you would like to head. Be specific in your intent and then be disciplined to follow through on the plan that you set towards accomplishing that goal. Have endurance and have focus and don't be distracted along the way with other side goals. Be specific in your intent and disciplined in your follow through, and I promise you'll be surprised with the result.